Hello, good morning, good morning, Gothenburg.
Yeah, it's actually afternoon here in Gothenburg, but
Oh,
good morning to
good.
you.
Good evening. Well, how did your presentation go? And did you? I hope you had an audience because I couldn't see from here. Because
We're about to do our presentation. I think is
oh, you're about to do
the
it. I'm
plan.
so sorry. Okay, well, let's give us a preview. Tell us what we're going to see. See, I'm so confused.com because here we are. I'm in the UK, which is behind everything. We'd even drive on the wrong side of the road. And you there in Gothenburg. So just give us a soupçon of what you're going to tell the audience.
So I'm the CEO here at Plint, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what kind of a company we are and what we believe in. And then I'm going to hand over to people who know what they're talking about to talk about how we actually do subtitling and a little bit of a preview of what it's like to work with some of our tools.
Okay, well, I know that you've got an audience of freelancers out there because I believe you're very interested to hear from them. Do they all have to be experienced subtitlers to come and talk to you, or is that something you can take care of?
No, so we go into that a bit more in detail later in the presentation, but absolutely not. We're aware that many subtitlers start their life as text translators. It's a fairly standard route into the profession, and we're happy to welcome anyone who's got the right skills.
Okay, just a reminder to everyone who is watching, if you go to the conference app, click on this session, double click on it, and then on the right hand side of your screen or somewhere if you're using a smartphone, will come the area where you can pose questions. I will be keeping an eye on those. If I look to my right, your left like that, it's not because I'm just bored with looking at you two. It means I'm just keeping an eye on the questions coming in, and I'll relay those to you. So I'm going to hand over to you. They don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from you two. So off you go.
Thanks. So good afternoon. I'm Thomas Roberts. I'm the CEO here. We thought we'd start with just sharing our vision. And Plint's vision is to be the friendly and fair player in this industry. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the context of who we are and where we came from. So we're actually subtitlers from the beginning. 5 subtitlers sitting in a room who decided there was a better way of doing this. And that's very much something which runs through the heart of the business today. We've managed to grow very quickly in the last few years, driven a lot by the streaming wars, the launch of large online platforms. And we now have a pretty significant market share, especially in European languages. Myself, I'm actually new to this. I joined the company just in February, and I don't come from the language service industry at all. So this is all very new for me, and I'm learning every day. And one of the things about Plint, which I think is so fantastic, is how friendly and helpful everyone is. And I've been made to feel very welcome, and I'm really enjoying my time here. And that's what we hear also from our freelancers and our customers and other people we work with. So that's covered the friendly part of our friendly and fair. I think the fair bit also, again, back to the fact that we started out as a group of freelancers. We're here for the freelancers. We don't do localization. You do the localization. So what we need to do is to support you in the best way that we can, with all the right training and help and onboarding and the very best tools, so that you can use your craft in the best way. And very importantly in all of that, we also want to make sure that you're fairly compensated for the work that you do. And that's a really important principle that we take into everything that we do. And we think it sets us apart from other players in this industry. So our mantra, we believe that what we do is actually important for the world. And so we have a mantra which we say and have in the back of our minds whenever we're working with anything, when we're working with some content, when we're working with a project, when we're working with our technology. So we actually think that storytelling is one of the most important things about civilization. And at the moment, with the increasing platforms and ways that people can share their stories, it's never been more important to be able to share them globally, never been more important to be able to provide that content in different languages for different audiences. And if we think about the pandemic, which luckily is sort of affecting us a little bit less now than it did a few months ago, there were many people stuck at home for months on end, and the ability to escape your living room for a few minutes or a couple of hours each day into a fantastic story and get out of your box, I think has been very important for many people. And I'm very glad that we've been able to help and be part of that. So talking about being part of that, this is most of the people here in Sweden who spend their time trying to support and help our freelancers and make sure that things are running smoothly. But in terms of being part of it, I'm actually not there, you'll notice, or you may notice. And I'm hoping it's not a sign from my team that this is some future desire for them for a Thomas-free company. They tell me it's just the only photo they had, but we'll see. But in any case, there's two of the founders there in the picture on the front row, Mikael on the left and Pelle second from the right, as you look at it. And both of them still very much involved with the company. Pelle now is our chief strategy officer, and he's at the bottom of all of the main activities and the way that we approach this. So we're still very much a company with freelancers behind us and at the bottom of everything we do. So we do work with some of the best content, and I think that's one of the things that's also attractive about working with Plint. We have fantastic customers and they have great content. And depending on what content you work with today, it may be one of the things that's attractive about moving into subtitling or subtitling with Plint. Personally, I find it easier to work with things that I'm engaged with myself. And I know that subtitling is interesting because it's not just about a one-to-one translation. Some of our clients actually have specific indications that they want the translator to focus on an understanding of what the director originally intended with the line, and to try and translate that so that the same intention is communicated in the translated language, which is quite a subtle art form, and definitely something which I think could be an interesting activity for people who might work with a little bit more one-to-one translation. Exactly how you do that, I don't know. I've just said this isn't my industry, but we have people here who do know how you do that. And I'm actually standing next to one of them right now. This is Pernilla.
Hello.
Pernilla is in charge of managing our vendors and also managing our freelancer community. And she's going to tell you more about this and the things that she's much more of an expert than I am. So I'm going to hand you over to Pernilla now.
Thank you, Thomas. All right, so we're here. We have a special mission here at Mars. We want to find more translators to Central European languages, more specifically Polish and Czech and Slovak, Hungarian, Romanian. But by all means, if you are Russian or have any other native language, please contact us anyway, because we are looking to expand our linguist pools. And we have big projects going on right now, and there are not enough subtitlers out there. So we think it would be interesting to see if we could find translators, text translators, who would be interested in trying subtitling, to learn more about subtitling, and try it for a while to see if that is something that you would like to continue doing. Right now, more concretely, there's a big streaming platform that needs to be localized in Central Europe in the spring, and therefore we're looking to recruit more people.
Just to break in terms of what that content is, we can't name the end client, but the client we're working for, Premier Digital in Los Angeles, has Disney Plus as a client, which is a clue about what kind of content we might be working on here. So hopefully that's content which, for the most part, is engaging and interesting content that you'll enjoy working with.
Good. I didn't know if I could say that, so you said it. Good. Right. So if you feel that this is something for you that you are interested in, then we offer a formal training in subtitling and subtitling tools before you get started. And we are liaising with the university who are experts in this field to help you and get you started within a few weeks. So it is an opportunity for you to learn something new and engage in this part of the industry, because I come from the text part of the industry myself. So I know that most people do either one thing or the other. Some do both. And I think why not? It's really interesting to do something new, and not only working with the manuals or whatever that you mostly do when you do text translation, although that can be fun too, but this is something entirely different. And also, like Thomas said, that to be part of the Plint linguist community is something really special. We focus a lot on communication, webinars, trying to keep in touch with everyone, and we'll make sure to make you feel really welcome if you join us. And there is plenty of work available.
And I'm guessing that when the pandemic really does start to disappear, we'll go back to trying to meet up in real life.
Yeah. So then the requirements to become a subtitler with Plint is that you have some sort of translation degree or experience. And I would have thought that if you are joining, if you're participating in this event, you're already working as a translator. So that is really not a problem. And you need to be self-employed and be available for us. And also be willing to take part in the training that we're offering, and to have time for us to work with us in the next coming months. So, well, realistically then November, December, January, and we hope it will continue, but we don't know that much beyond that. But that is our hope, right? So, and some keys to success, I guess this is for all types of translation, but if you want to subtitle, it's more like translating marketing texts. Perhaps you need to have a fluent language in the sense that, or a natural sense, to be able to convey dialogue, because it's what people talk. That is what subtitling is about. So, and to have a proficiency to understand both language and culture. That's the same with, like with text translation in general, but I think even more so now. And since it's Disney material, it's a lot of kids series, youth series, a lot of it set in the US. So you should be interested in that at least. And the last point there, conscientiousness, that goes for all translation, but really to be, to know that there are many viewers there will be many viewers. And although, of course, we will check your translations, we will proofread them, it's always to keep in mind that the audience is probably quite big, and therefore you need to be, well, do your best and be conscientious. Yeah.
Just want to add there, I think some of you may have seen there's quite a lot of debate now about the Netflix series Squid Games and whether or not the localization was done to the right level of quality. The thing with the work you do when you're subtitling is it's very visible. It does get seen by thousands of people, read by, you know, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of people. So the conscientiousness is important, and people are very vocal when they don't think that it's good enough or the right quality.
So after the training, these are the skills that we think that you will have acquired. You will understand the difference between subtitling and text translation, and you will have received the knowledge of a basic subtitling concepts such as templates, if you don't know what that is already, style guides, time coding, and just a little bit, we'll touch on that, and something called K&P, which is a type of style guide, you could say. So these concepts, knowing how to work with it and how to contribute also to these things. And what you will do when working for us to start with, it will be subtitling from templates, which means that you will have a template in an editor with a video running where you write your text over an English text. So you won't do what's called spotting or time coding. You will not create these templates. They will be done for you. So it's just to focus on the actual translation. And the training that we will offer, it will be both group sessions, individual sessions with feedback, and then after the actual training is over, there will also be support and evaluation as part of the training and after the training as well. So you won't feel lonely. And if you're interested in joining us, then you register via our homepage or our webpage, and you contact us. Just send us an email and say, oh, hey, I'm interested in this project, please tell me more. And we will set up a user account for you, send you our MSA, and then give you information about the training. So that is basically it.
Thank you, Pernilla. So we have a couple of friends that joined us. One of them has 4 legs, the other one has 2 legs. So this is Hanna-Sofia, who
Hi,
is one of our project managers in the subtitling field. I'm going to try and do a swap over to the demo. And while that's happening, while Hanna-Sofia is doing the demo, I will potentially see if I can look after our 4-legged friend. So I'm hoping you can see that. I may need to just escape this presentation. Yeah, no, that should be good. Okay, so over to you, Hanna-Sofia.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. What I'm going to show you is our online editor, or it's called Plint Subtitler, which is the editor in which you will be working and performing the translations. So the view you're seeing now is your dashboard, which is basically your start page when you log into our website. So don't mind too much about these things that you see on screen now, because we're going to concentrate on the editor itself. So I'm going to open it for you so you can see what it looks like when you will be working for us. So basically, this is the interface of the editor, and you have the translation here in the list to the right, or basically the English template, I should say, and you should put where you should put in your translation. So this is a translation from template jobs. So you will see the template here. It's grayed out on the left-hand side. And if you scroll down in this list, you will see the rest of the templates. But it's also visible if you go on each individual subtitle, and you can see it on the timeline at the bottom, the duration and how long it is between each subtitle and so on. So it's not too complicated. You have a text in one box and you write your translation in the other box. So it's pretty simple, but of course you will need to know a few things before you can start working. So we use a lot of shortcuts when we work, or when you work, because you need to think about your body. You should not wear yourself out. You need to think about not moving your arm and your hands or your head too much around. So we want you to work with shortcuts. And that is to say, you choose keys on your keyboard that do different things for you. So for example, to play and pause the subtitle, and to jump between subtitles and so on. So you need to set a couple of shortcuts to do so, and that you do via settings and then shortcuts. And here you can basically decide which key that is to do what. So for example, to play and pause, I have this combination of keys. To jump frames, I'm going to explain for you what that is if you don't know in a bit. And if you want to jump seconds back and forward and so on. So you need to set your shortcuts before you can start working in the most efficient way. The shortcuts are already set up for you. You have, they are set to these keys by default, but you can customize them as you wish. So when you have set your shortcuts, you can start working, but you also need to know a couple of things. What does all of these things mean? Basically, here you have at what time this subtitle where I'm standing in now, so in subtitle number 2, this is the time where the subtitle starts, and this is the duration of it, and this is where it ends. And the duration, where I can say it here, this is hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. And by frames, we mean one picture frame. That is to say that how many picture frames the image is moving while you're playing. So, and the duration is set in seconds and in frames. So this subtitle has a duration of 20 frames. So it's quite short, but I can show you a longer one here. Here you have one that is 1 second and 13 frames, so it's a bit longer. So that is what that means. And here you also have the index, which is pretty much the number in numerical order. You have the subtitles here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And the separation is the distance between this subtitle and the next, or sorry, the previous one. All right, so let us just, since you are many people from different nationalities watching, let us just pretend that we're writing a translation here into your own language, but it's pretty much just to write the translation of what is being seen in the template. And now when I have filled in the translation, you can see that some things are happening here. You have count, 2 different numbers, and the count is the amount of characters in the first line. So we have 11 characters here, and we have 12 on the second line. And then we also have reading speed, which is how many characters per second that is seen on screen. So this subtitle has a duration of around 1 second. So it's more or less 15 characters per second that you read when you're in this subtitle. And when you work for different clients, you have different allowed maximum reading speeds. So it depends on which client you're working for. But you can pretty much say that you should not exceed and have too high reading speed, because too high reading speed means too many characters seen on screen for too short amount of time. So if I just add a lot of letters here, you can see the reading speed going up, and now I'm starting to get a warning here that the reading speed is too high. So you can just think for yourself that too many characters seen on screen for too short of a time means that you will probably not be able to read it as a viewer. So you won't be able to read and perceive the message. And of course, here on the right, we also have some, just settings, if you want italics, if you want bold, if you want it underlined, and so on. And also, if you want to have a text raised to the top part of the screen, you can see over here that it's moved to the top part of the screen. That could be useful if it's, for example, an on-screen text saying New York, 1945, for example, and it's important that the viewer see that it says something on screen, then you have to raise the subtitles to the top part of the screen. But this is also something that is sometimes optional for clients, that some clients doesn't want you to have it raised and some do. So you have some settings here on the right-hand side. But basically, when you are translating, you play. Of course, you should not jump between the subtitles just like this and then write what is being said on the left here. You also, of course, have to play the video. You have to play and you have to listen, because even if you are provided with a template, it could contain errors, because most templates are created by human beings just like you and me, and errors can occur. So it could be some kind of spelling mistake or just a word that is heard incorrectly. So it's always important that you play the video and then you type in your translation. So I'm not really sure if the sound works for you, but I'm just going to play this one. We can start just before the subtitle goes in. But basically the woman says, "Morning, how are you?" Yeah, I don't know if you heard that, but the woman in the background says, "Morning, how are you?" And so it's important to, when you're translating, to confirm that what is being seen in the template is actually being said, and it's spoken out loud. So when you have filled out your translation, when you have come to the very end of it, we also want you to perform technical checks, because as you saw in this subtitle where we filled in a lot of extra letters where the reading speed went up quite a bit. Let's do that again. So here we have a problem with this subtitle. So, but of course you can still keep on working without addressing this problem. I can still skip to the next one and start my translation here. And I mean, things sometimes go fast when you translate, so you won't be able to perceive that you have made a mistake, that you have exceeded the maximum allowed reading speed, or if you perhaps have put this on 3 lines, for example. So we always want you to perform a technical check of your file before you deliver. So there we have our report tool, which you can find in the review part of the menu up top. So you just click report tool, and then we press check. And now, since this this file barely contains any translation because we've only put letters and words in this subtitle, you will get many errors because it says that it's empty. Here you have empty clips, so we have 480 subtitles that are empty, and of course it should look like this when you deliver. But for example, we have reading speed. Here it says in the subtitle where we have put the extra letters, so we have too high reading speed, you get a warning. And also you get the maximum lines, that it has more than 2 text lines, which is not allowed. It should only be maximum 2, and we have put 3 here. So you should always perform a technical check of your file before you deliver. And when you have done that, we also want you to do a spell check of your work. So you just choose in the same, where am I? Hello? Where did I go? Where is it?
It's on that screen.
Oh, there it is. The cursor disappeared from me. You have it in review also, spell check, and where you choose your language, which you want to spell check, and then you choose your language, for example, Croatian, and then you press check. And then all of the words that are misspelled or in some way is not recognized by the dictionary will appear here. And of course, as you always know, it could be names that are, it's not in your dictionary, but it's not necessarily incorrect. It's just that your dictionary doesn't recognize it. So these are the 2 things that are really important to perform before you deliver your file. And when you have completed everything, when you have done the technical check or via the report tool, when you have spell checked your file, you are sure that you have done the best you can, and yeah, you are satisfied with your file, you just change status up in the right corner. I don't know if you can see it. I'm covered by another screen here, but it says change status, a big green button at the upper top right corner of the screen. So yeah, basically that's it. And then the project manager will be notified that you have completed your job. And if there are any questions regarding your job while you're working, you can send the project manager a message, or you can send it to them afterwards. You always have the project manager's information on the job. And you also have the project forum. I'm just going to show you real quickly where that is, because that is where you can communicate with your, with your fellow translators. So you have the speech bubble is the project forum, and here you can open up a new topic, asking a question about whatever you want. If you find it hard to hear For example, in subtitle 150, I can't hear what is being said. Is the template really correct? Or whatever you want to ask. And if you're working on a series, for example, with multiple episodes, you will most likely not work on the full series yourself. You will most likely have colleagues in your language. So if you're working with, for example, your Norwegian translation and you have 2 episodes, then you will most likely have other Norwegian colleagues where you can direct your questions regarding Norwegian. But even if you only work on one feature and you are the only one in your language, it's always a good way to use the project forum to reach out to your fellow language colleagues, even in other languages, because if you have questions regarding, well, not language specific questions, but general questions regarding the project or something that you can't hear or something if it's unclear or whatever. And you can, of course, direct questions to the project manager here if you want, but you also have a direct message function to your project manager where you can communicate alone with him or her. In the project forum, everyone involved in the project will see your post or your topic. So even if you're working by yourself and if you're feeling alone, you are not alone because you have the project manager that's always there to answer your questions. And if you're working on a series or a project that is translated into multiple languages, you also have the project forum where you can discuss different matters with your colleagues. So I believe that is my presentation of Subtitler, and I hope many of you will come and work for us soon. Thank you all.
Thank you, Hanna-Sofia. Just a couple of things to point out here. This demo screen that we're showing you has a fictional company here, Acme Localization, because we do also sell this platform to other companies who want to use our localization tools, which I think is a sign that they're considered to be quite good tools. And there are some quite large clients that have this as the basis of their localization platform. So Acme Localization doesn't exist, but I can assure you that Plint does. And this is a good demonstration of how it is to work in our system. Another thing to point out is, as you noticed in that example, there was no machine translation involved in that particular example. And at the moment, the Plint tooling is set up for a manual translation as at the basic. But we are, as other companies, looking at augmented translation, being able to provide you with tools and suggestions to help you in your job. And that's something that's going to be evolving going forwards. But one thing we are doing is we're not just making changes and launching them. We're consulting with the community. We're speaking to freelancers. We have an active and open dialogue on this topic. And as with everything we do, we'll try and do it a bit better than the other guys do it. So I just thought I'd address that point. So timing wise, I'm going to close down this demo site and maybe move us to, are we finished with the presentation? Was that the last slide? It was the last slide. So maybe I'll just stop sharing. Okay,
I'm back with you guys. And we've got 1 or 2 questions coming in through cyberspace and whizzing all around to Mars and back. So a question, first of all, roughly, if I'm a novice subtitler, but I'm an experienced translator, but I want to get into this exciting new world, what's the average time it might take to train me up to be proficient in your tool?
Pernilla?
We're counting on about 3 or 4 weeks now because we have to get you started. And by that time, you will obviously not be as productive as a subtitler who has worked for years and years, but you will be able to gain speed, I guess, once you get started and once you get used to the way of working, etc.
And is that 3 or 4 weeks of full-time practice, or?
No, it's not full-time training, but there will be training sessions because we realize that you have another job as well, translating. So we're not asking you to just stop whatever you are doing, but to engage. I can't say how many hours exactly that we will be required, but it will absolutely not be a full-time training.
And the pieces that I would get to subtitle using your system, are those test pieces or likely to be published and broadcast at some point?
During the training?
Oh, no, not the training material, obviously not. But once you get started and start working, then it will be broadcasted.
Okay, but that, and the training, is that free?
Yes, it is free. If you commit to working at least 50% of your time after that until mid-January, because we want to get in touch with people for this particular project or who can actually work on the project as soon as possible.
I'd just like to add there, it's free from a freelancer perspective. From a Plint perspective, we're investing quite a lot in it. I hope that's appreciated by the community.
I'm kind of asking on behalf of the freelancers who might be out there. I mean, we've got a couple of questions that, here's actually a sort of, you probably covered it, but and I'm sorry turning away because I'm surrounded by screens in my command center here. So Anna asks, what are the biggest differences between a text translator and audio-visual translator? Well, I kind of think maybe that question's been answered because we've seen the complexity of it all, but what's your take on the key differences?
Maybe Hanna-Sofia.
Oh yeah, basically when you're doing a text translation, it's most important to have it all. So if you have a full text, then you should have a full text in your language too, because and in audiovisual translation, it's much more important to condense, that you cannot have, even if they're saying a long sentence, then maybe you have to condense it to 25% of what is being actually said. So it's really a matter of condensing the spoken word and to make it a pleasant experience for the viewer, because it's the viewer of the material that are seeing the subtitles on screen. So, and this is extra important if you're working with material with, I heard you mentioned, Thomas, Squid Game, if you're watching a series with a language that many people might not understand. I mean, for us in Sweden, when we're watching English material with Swedish subtitles, most of us can understand what is being said in English. But it's very important that you condense and you try to convey the most important part of the message. So that I would say would be the biggest challenge in comparison to text translation.
One of
Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Go.
There's a delay here that's causing the problem. One of our linguists was interviewed by The Guardian recently in relation to that, and I have to say we didn't do the particular subtitles that were in question. But the way he put it was that when he's translating something like David Lynch material, his personal way of working feels that he needs to watch the content a few times before he even begins, because he feels he really needs to understand the material itself, not just the words, to be able to do his best job. So I think depending on how you want to engage with it, certainly it's something where if you enjoy film and you enjoy TV, there's an extra dimension there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I find sometimes reading subtitles, the movie is moving on so quickly. So streamed content is great when you can just pause it and read the subtitles. But if you go in the cinema, sometimes you don't have that chance. But I mean, the discipline of actually being able to condense stuff to fit the frames before the story moves on it sounds so skilled, so you don't damage the intent and the meaning of the script. That is such an art form, and it's something which I take my hat off to anyone doing this. I've got another question, so excuse me while I look over to my screen here. How will freelancers get access to the tool? Do they have to download the tool, and does it cost anything? So I think you've kind of answered about the cost. Whoops, that's a comment on my question.
When you work in our, sorry, there's a delay here.
Yeah.
No, when you work in our subtitling editor, it is available for you, and it's an online tool, and it doesn't cost anything. for you as a freelancer. You work in it, and for as long as for the project duration.
Now, one of the things I also noticed, certainly from this conference, is that freelancers love talking to each other and sharing experience. And I wondered whether you had a kind of a subtitlers community where they can jump in, share experience, get tips from experienced subtitlers, how they overcame certain issues. I know that you've probably got a help desk there where you can help them, but talking to others doing the same job often helps. And does such a community exist in the Plint Empire?
Well, on a project basis, Hanna-Sofia showed you how you can discuss with other people on the project level, but we are also setting up forums for language-specific forums so that you can speak to fellow translators of your own language for anything related to this project. And we also have language managers, so they are freelancers themselves for each language, and they can always help you with anything that you need to discuss, or they are very experienced and skilled, so you will not be lonely. In this.
Why don't you name check one or two movies and things we might have seen on the streaming services that have come via the Plint platform? Just be proud and tell us something we might have seen.
Well, we do work on a lot of Netflix content, and so The Crown is obviously a very big program that we did work on. I mean, it's the number of languages they require means that often there are other vendors involved as well for a given series, but we are one of the biggest suppliers in their platform, and they tend to focus the Netflix original stuff on that platform. So the high profile Netflix shows absolutely form a large part of the work that we do. But as mentioned previously, this content that's the initial main bulk of the workload for these Eastern European languages between now and January will be Disney stuff. So it will be things that your community almost certainly will recognize or have seen before, or possibly even programs that they've watched and loved themselves.
Okay, I just make a sort of a kind of announcement because we're almost down to the last minute and a half. In fact, we've gone just about a minute and a half before we have to move on. Just everyone out there, this session is being recorded. After the conference, everyone will get a link and you'll be able to view this material again at your leisure. And if you haven't been to the Plint stand, do go to the central hub, whiz over before you're locked out if you're on a freebie courtesy of the European Commission, and go and say hello to them. But I would like to thank all three of you for a really enlightening glimpse at what Plint does and how people who want to get involved would need to go about that. So I thank you, and I sort of kind of wish you a goodbye for the moment. And I shall probably whiz into the world later on, hopefully see a couple of you around in the stand. But thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.